Good afternoon, patrons. I'm really glad that you're here today so we can do a new guided drawing. And I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to call out certain patrons so that they know that I've prepared this lesson especially for them, but everyone will be able to benefit from it. So this one is for Miss Mappa's class, 8th grade, and I want you to have kind of a fun time with this sort of spooky drawing. Okay, first thing I'm gonna do is make a border. And I just take a piece of computer paper, fold it in half, and then center it on the page so that I can make a border. And I almost did it right. Okay, there we go. And now we're going to start. But as usual, we're going to start with yellow. And I want you to allow the yellow to lightly expand from the center. And just press very light with your touch so that this can get kind of big. Touching the edges at places, but it's not perfectly round. There is no shape to it, just light yellow. And then we'll go right on with the blue. And this blue is going to come from the bottom of our page, or the border, and in a somewhat irregular manner, that is, it's not going to be all the same height. And they're not going to be equally spaced either. So some of these blues are close together and some will be far apart. And I want you to fill the lower third, let's say, with some blue. And then we're going to come right back to the yellow, and we're going to sort of strengthen around the outside of yellow. Not in the center, but just kind of around the outside. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is make a border. And I just take a piece of computer paper, fold it in half, and then center it on the page so that I can make a border. And I almost did it right. Okay, there we go. And now we're going to start. But as usual, we're going to start with yellow. And I want you to allow the yellow to lightly expand from the center and just press very light with your touch so that this can get kind of big. Touching the edges at places, but it's not perfectly round. There is no shape to it, just light yellow. And then we'll go right on with the blue. And this blue is going to come from the bottom of our page, or the border, and in a somewhat irregular manner, that is, it's not going to be all the same height. And they're not going to be equally spaced either. So some of these blues are close together and some will be far apart. And I want you to fill the lower third, let's say, with some blue. And then we're going to come right back to the yellow, and we're going to sort of strengthen around the outside of the yellow. Not in the center, but just kind of around the outside. Okay, now I'm going to take the red and I'm going to start on the outside corners with the red. And I'm going to imagine a sort of cupping gesture, a round cupping gesture that's going to be this surrounding space for maybe what we would consider to be a sort of moonlight. So I'm just going to fill the corners, come in, and let this wrap around a little bit. And we'll just tuck it in a little bit. And we have to kind of imagine this round circle. It would come way up there and way down here. So we can even have a little bit of sense of it down here. And now let's go right to the blue and see if we can make this a violet. So you'll have to really take your touch sensitively of blue on top of the red. And we'll create this purple. And you can go back and forth with your red over the blue and the blue back over the red until you get sort of a purpley glow. Let's come back down below and begin to get some structure to the different blues that we have created down here. And you can see that this area in particular has the potential for kind of rectangles, let's say. And these rectangles I'm going to imagine to be kind of a gravestones. And we might even have one that's here. And with the gravestones, I want you to feel free to scribble a little bit of letters or something across them. And underneath them, let's build a little bit of darkness, both in the gravestone itself, but also into the ground. And we can actually have a lot of gravestones indicated back here, even maybe some kind of mausoleum type thing. whatever you feel is going to kind of make it spooky for you. Just make sure that you keep coming back to this area up front and darkening it. And likewise, we're going to want to darken up here in the sky in the nighttime. And this is where it's going to get a little bit more pressure with the pencil. And you can decide how much of a midnight feeling you want to get. The darker we get with this, the more it's going to be like a moon. And now let's work a little bit on this area, which is going to be where our witch is going to be. And I think you can see that in mine, there are areas that are darker. And these areas, these are going to be very important to my whole experience of this witch on the broom. And I don't want you to feel that you have to actually draw what I'm drawing, but I do want you to look at your colors and ask yourself what you see in the colors, how you see what your witch might look like. And it might be helpful for you to add some reds to the actual contours of the witch as she's on that broom. Do you think she's looking back over her witchy nose at something? Looking back the other direction. Over her shoulder. Now, what could she be looking at back there? Perhaps there's some crows flying along with her, or maybe even bats. They might be telling her something. She may even have one sitting on her shoulder. Telling her something. And you are going to look at your picture and find what yours is saying. You may have a very small witch on a broom. Probably want to put the broom in after you do your witch, and then see if you can make brown by adding the 3 colors together. Red, yellow, and then we'll darken it with some blue. She's got 2. Okay, we can get really into the witch and her whole appearance. So we know she's looking that way. But we also have all this down here to consider. And remember how I said that it was important for this foreground to get really dark? Well, now's the time when we're going to do it. And we're going to make all this back here structural by doing more of the kind of line and plane gestures. We still don't want them to be a bunch of outlined gravestones, but they can be going this way and that, and some of them, I guess, will be kind of like that. Yeah, they all do have that, don't they? They're not exactly perfect stones. This back here might be a shed or something. And then we've got this back here. Spooky stuff, and let's make it a little bit darker. Add in the reds. Ooh, it's kind of scary with the blood red back there, isn't it? You can see that a lot's going to depend on the direction. It can be very menacing to have red. Okay, now I want you to take an opportunity to look at your picture from just a little bit distance away. You could have your neighbor hold it up for you, or you could set it on a desk or a surface and step away from it so that you can evaluate your picture. And when I do that on mine, I'm very happy with the way she's kind of talking to the birds back here and really inclined forward on her mission. And down here we almost have the village and these gravestones, and I'm really liking the red. And I'm beginning to see a few things that I want to fix. One is that this little curve right here is very important to the feeling of it being a round moon. And you could do this with a compass if you wanted to get it right, or you could just etch it on with your hand like that. And then look how important it is to just fill a certain amount of space there at the top. I'm going to do this on the left side too. But as you can see, that's super, super important for the roundness quality. And we do want this to look pretty round because it's supposed to be a kind of moon. And these are the kinds of things you'll never see unless you get away from your picture a little bit. You notice that these villages or some of the gravestones have a kind of blue-white moon light about them, and we could accentuate that if we really darken the area behind what is maybe considered the village. Really pull that into darkness there. And then above it, we'll allow the blue to get a little bit lighter. And lighter. As it goes up to the place where we would see, imagine we would see the moon coming here. And this blue would come up higher and higher, covering a lot of the yellow. And since we did a light yellow to begin with, we're not going to get a really bright, fresh green, and that's good because the more green that we get in this picture, the more awake or daylight it's going to look. So we are going to avoid getting the bright, bright greens. That means don't go over blue where it's really strong yellow, such as here or here. But over here, it's not strong at all, and I can really get quite dark. And you can feel free to interpret the darkness how you want it to be, which means let your hand and mind feel. If I really darken over here, then do I really want it to be nice and crisp and dark over here? My answer is yes. But yours might not be. So you do have to respect what you feel as the artist of your creation. I'm gonna see what happens if I get this red now on top of that darker blue. And you can see finally I'm getting some violet. And I've just got to come back to my little witch. She's so cute. She's determined. Some kind of texture in the moon. You can keep going on and on with this for quite a while until you get it really to the place where you're satisfied with it. It's kind of fun.